Hi folks, Robert J. E. Simpson here. I haven't posted too many vlogs this year. It's something I think I probably should do a little bit more of in 2022. So if you do want me to continue and you want to hear more from me, let me know what sort of stuff you want to hear and encourage me in the comments. It will enlighten both of our days, I'm sure. I wanted just to post something quickly before the end of the year. As 2021 has, let's be honest, not really worked out the way that any of us would like. It has continued to be a mess psychologically in terms of the pandemic and also physically. I started to try and make plans this year. At various points I've tried to feel comfortable with being back in the world and doing things. I'm very pleased to see I've had a few events on, which has been lovely to get back in and in front of an audience and actually talk to people and to work with real living human beings again instead of living my entire life through a screen. He says, ironically, considering that this video itself is going to be screen based, but nonetheless, I mean, this is okay. I don't mind these exchanges, but I also need to have real world contact. But it ended up for me going much as the rest of the last year and a half has done, completely against my plans. I struggle a bit with Christmas and the end of the year. Generally, not just because of SADS, seasonal affective disorder, which I probably have a little bit of, not just because of my depression, but because I find some of the circumstances around Christmas and families can be quite difficult to cope with. I love my family, don't get me wrong, I love my siblings and I like seeing them, but it does bring up other things for me and makes me reflect a bit on my own life, and that can be quite difficult. So I made plans this year to get away to go, and I was due to do a house sit down in Dublin for a couple of weeks, and was very much looking forward to a change of scenery, getting away from the immediate pressures of family, and also to catch up with a couple of friends I haven't seen for some of them 3 or 4 years, just because circumstances hasn't allowed, and we've had this mess for the last couple of years. So I was very much looking forward to that, very excited, and getting myself geared up to going away for a couple of weeks and doing some work while I was down there too. And then just before Christmas, the week before Christmas, literally a few days before the pandemic hit, my father ended up catching COVID and got quite sick very quickly. Now, I'd been ill for about a month with a bad cold. So and I've been testing myself fairly regularly anyway, which I do. I had a little bit of in-person work to do, so anytime I'm going to go out and be in the world, I would do LFTs and make sure that, lateral flow test, make sure that everything was okay, make sure I was fit to be with people. Whenever I would come back from those things after a day or two, I would check again to make sure I hadn't picked up anything. So that had been my routine for quite a while. But unfortunately, I was a close contact, and basically, I got the alert from. Well, actually, I saw his bloody test. I had to help him take it. And I seen the results, and when I saw the results, I immediately panicked, so I sent him off for a PCR. The rules and regulations were sort of changing a bit as well, and the way it was at the time, basically they were encouraging us, if you're a close contact, as long as you were doing daily LFTs for 7 days, you should be okay to PCR at the start, PCR another 8 days further on, and then see where you're at. And unfortunately, I did a show. I did a theatre piece, a murder mystery night, which was great fun, in Meath on the Thursday night. On the Saturday, I sent off my PCR results, PCR test, and I got my results back on the Sunday, and I have COVID. I mean, I had COVID. I tested negative for the LFT on the Saturday morning, as I had done every other day that week. But the test I sent off, the PCR on the Saturday, came back positive, and my LFTs for the next few days also came back positive. So my plans for Christmas went out the window overnight. Like literally on the Saturday, I was still making plans for going down to Dublin and arranging it with the people I was sitting for. And on the Sunday morning, I'm having to send a text message saying, I'm really, really sorry, but this has come up and I can't do this. Also, just trying to sit in this frustration, knowing that the very situation that I have been trying to get myself out of, and I have been talking about trying to get myself out of for months, suddenly I was now going to be stuck in this for the whole festive period. So yeah, it didn't really go to plan at all. I felt absolutely terrible having to cancel. Very frustrated because I also had to cancel a workshop that I was due to do, which I'd already had to rejig in order to accommodate it. Yeah, and I felt kind of pretty awful about this, and very concerned as well that I might have infected other people. Now, I got a bit of grief on one of my Twitter accounts from somebody who is very much an anti-vaxxer, having a go at me because, you know, I was talking about my plans being up in the air, and I had actually just got boosted on the Tuesday as well, which is kind of really, really ironic timing. I must have got my booster about the same time that I got infected by my father. So I've been boosted on the Tuesday, and by Saturday I was COVID positive. So it was quite a strange sort of experience, and I got a bit of grief for this, but I ended up having to block them. Not because I'm in the habit of blocking people. There's lots of people on my feed who I don't agree with, in terms of their politics or their outlook on life, or maybe a specific agenda that they may have. I mean, that's fine. I think it's important to be exposed to all kinds of opinions, and all kinds of worldviews, because, you know, we may have other shared interests, or it may be somebody that I follow for some other reason. You know, maybe I like to be aware of some of the stuff that they're thinking, and usually, you know, we can exchange respectful ideas, and that's okay. I've plenty of people in my own life that are like that, and you know, it's never been a problem. But this was a situation where just I didn't need this, and I'd asked them to stop the conversation. I wasn't going to continue with it, and I was getting then called an idiot. And once it starts going down to personal insults, you know what, you've kind of ruined your argument, and I'm not willing to engage anymore. Not on a personal level. I mean, talking about a group of people being an idiotic or being idiots is one thing, expressing those kind of opinions, but when you start going into personal insults, I just don't see the point in continuing. I don't need to see that in my feed. You know, and I'm sure I say things about other people too. But again, it's the generalizations, there's the outlooks, but it's when you go into personal direct trading of insults and ignoring what somebody has asked you to say, to sort of cease a conversation, then, you know, people have the right to draw a line. And I've had this happen to me too. I've commented to other people and they've asked me to stop, and I've tried to explain something about where I was coming from after they had said no, and I got blocked. And you know what, they were quite right to do so. I don't really have an issue with them doing that under the circumstances. Anyway, so this was what was going on, and the thing was, I got my booster, and then I come down with COVID, and it did completely upset my plans. I mean, I'm not asking people to be sympathetic to me because I have COVID. Oh shit, that's terrible. I mean, it was more of like, I use my social media as a way to just outlet how I'm feeling about stuff, and just to kind of engage with the world. And I wasn't asking anyone to feel sorry for me in the sense that I got sick, because actually my COVID I was really, really lucky in the end. I had very little impact from it. I mean, I'd had a cold for about a month, and honestly, I can say that I did not feel particularly worse with the COVID than I did with the cold. I mean, I couldn't tell the point at which it changed from one thing into the other. Not really. There was maybe I actually thought maybe my cold was gone back slightly more, but that was about it. The only thing that happened to me that I can really put my finger on was I lost my sense of smell on the Monday, which was very, very strange. I literally could not smell anything. And I was going around sniffing everything, you know, whether it was nail varnish remover, nail polish, oranges, bins, my feet, couldn't smell a thing. But I insisted on sort of still maintaining my personal hygiene. I also insisted on sniffing stuff every day, in the hope that it might help reactivate my smell buds. And thankfully, within about 4 days, my sense of smell started coming back. I mean, literally a couple of days, and I could start to get whiffs. And then with about 4 days, everything was coming back. And I mean, this is only a week on, and, you know, I'm perfectly fine now. The same, my COVID results were coming back positive on the LFTs for 4 days, and that was it. By day 5, they were coming back clear, completely clear. Now, I'm someone who believes in sort of the use of vaccination. It's something that I've grown up with. I've been vaccinated against other things. I've probably said this before on these videos. When I was a kid, my understanding is that there was conversations that went on when I was a kid about jabs around measles and stuff. I think it's part of what fed in later on to the MMR discussions in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, that discredited information. But there was a fear at the time about the measles jab, and apparently I wasn't given the measles jab, is what I've been told, and I ended up catching measles. So I've always kind of, you know, finding that out just sort of reaffirmed the need to keep on getting vaccinated. So I got my 2 vaccinations really early on, and then I got my booster as soon as I could. Now I look at the situation. There's a few of us around me. I won't go into specific details about names and stuff because they haven't necessarily consented to me telling this. But of the people around us, there's one of us who had had their booster 2 or 3 weeks before this infection came into our little circle, and they've been absolutely fine throughout. The two of us that just got boosted were largely fine. You know, very, very minimal impact. I think the other party that I was with maybe had it slightly worse than me, but like marginally. My father hadn't been boosted, and he got really quite sick. Wasn't well at all. He described it as being the worst he's ever felt. And, you know, he wasn't, I think it's fair to say that he wasn't massively pro vaccinations beforehand. I think his attitude has somewhat changed. And then there's yet another member, another little group who are attached to us who've not been vaccinated at all and have all come down with it, and I think they're suffering from it quite badly. So as far as I can see, looking at it, getting vaccinated and boosting definitely helps. It doesn't stop you from catching it, but it does at least limit the effects. You know, none of us were hospitalized. None of us, you know, certainly the worst of it certainly wasn't there. And we had family who had it quite bad in the summer with probably the Delta variant, and the difference between those two is just enough to encourage me. But so yeah, so Christmas for me didn't quite work out the way it should have done. I was caught in a kind of COVID hell, and all my plans went out the window. So I feel, whilst I'm fully recovered now and had a very, very subdued Christmas, didn't really do much, but I was stuck in an environment that is driving me mad. I'm sick of staring at the same four walls. I really need to get out and to do something else, to be around other people, to see friends, to mingle. What's the date? I haven't had one of those for quite a while. Just to kind of be around other people, but I'm not keen on the big group environment things just yet. So yeah, so it's been a kind of strange end of the year. It feels very subdued and very, very anticlimactic. And right now, I'm still in my head. I should be 100 miles down the road, possibly still with myself and some cats, but just in a slightly different environment. And I kind of regret that. So this year has very much felt like another year of not going anywhere. It's not been ideal. Work-wise, I've had some positive stuff happen. You know, I put out a book. I helped out with a couple of other books. There's been some other projects that have kind of started working out, but also my regular gigs that I had, I've completely lost now. So my regular paid employment went in the summer. So I've been working in tourism for the last 5-6 years, and I no longer work in that environment. That's something you know, I was only ever a casual employee in that space, but it was a regular thing that I could rely on. So I have not got that. So I'm going into 2022 very much with a palette that's not completely clean, but that is open for lots of potential. So I'm trying to get myself back into a kind of very creative, positive mindset, trying to do interesting things, trying to work with people that I like working with, and I've rebuilt a couple of relationships on that. I've been working with the new theatre group on some stuff rather unexpectedly, but I'm really enjoying doing it because it's kind of much more improvisational, and hopefully that will continue in some form, although now I've said this on camera, it'll probably go out the window. So I mean, this is me just trying to kind of frame myself, and I mean, for anyone who happens to be interested, I'm still very available for work. You know, I want to be writing more. I want to be performing more. I've been doing bits of radio. I would like to be doing more of that kind of thing, and with a more reliable, consistent slotting and timing. But who knows what's going to happen. For those of you who do follow this stuff, who do watch these things, I'd love to hear about you, what you're up to, what your plans are for 2022. And for any of you who want to collaborate, like, slide into the DMs, hit me up, drop me a message if I've worked with you before and you've been wondering, like, why don't we do some more stuff? And hopefully in 2022 there'll be a lot more content. Back into doing podcasts over at Cinepunkt. We hopefully will have some events happening during the year. I'm itching to get back out and travel, and to incorporate that, and incorporate what I do when I'm traveling into some kind of blog, photography, or artwork or something. So I'm still going to try and work out how that goes. And for those of you who do know that side of me, I mean, I depend a lot on friends and family to facilitate bits of that. You know, it's the only way I can afford to do half of it is if I rely on the kindness of people to do a lot of couch surfing, and house sitting and stuff as well. So hopefully it'll be a bit more of that. I mean, I'm trying to look at the positives as I enter, gosh, as I properly enter my 40s now. I mean, that was the other thing this year. I turned 40 back in April, and it was a nice day in the end, but it wasn't the 40th birthday I'd planned for myself, and it just all feels very subdued. I feel very detached from a lot of people this year, and that's made me a bit sad. But I'm sitting here. It's literally the 31st of December 2021. I'm talking into my phone and feeling fairly optimistic about what's to come. I'm not in a bad place mentally. I'm actually feeling quite positive. I think having had the cold and the COVID has sort of refreshed my head a little bit. And I've done some stuff recently, so I'm feeling like productive. I've been doing some artwork in the last couple of weeks as well, which I hadn't done for a while. I'm feeling yay, and I want to do more things. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about my kind of COVID experience over Christmas, and just the fact that mine was really not that bad. And I know that there's a whole thing about people who are saying, well, you know, if it's not that bad, there's no reason to be vaccinated and stuff. I think the reason that my COVID wasn't that bad was because I have had all the vaccinations and because I tend to be quite careful. Hopefully, unfortunately, the situation I was in, I got a whack of the viral load, so I mean, I was going to catch it. Also, this new variant is quite contagious, but I've been pretty lucky, and you know, I'm not going to change my behavior pattern in the new year as I mingle again, just because I struck it lucky, because I don't know what's going to happen. I would still rather be careful. I would still rather try and protect other people as we go forward, and then as the year goes on, we'll see where it is. I've waffled on far enough. Any of you who have managed to make it this far in, thank you. But as I say, hit me up. Let me know what sort of stuff you want this year, and we'll see about providing you with some more stuff. And catch me on my socials. I'll link them through in the space below. And for those of you who want to support, look, there's a link to the Ko-Fi and stuff as well, so you can find out some other bits and pieces on there, and do whatever. Encourage me to do the stuff that you want to have from me. And fingers crossed, folks, that 2022 is a damn sight better than 2021 was. Maybe this is the year where we go back to something that we recognize as a reality. Hopefully not the same reality, but hopefully something that is recognizable at least. All right, folks. Bye-bye.